Movie begins in real time with Mickey sitting alone at the bar and suddenly there was a gunshot from behind him. Then flashback of how it all started. Fletcher, a private investigator, had been hired by Big Dave, the newspaper editor of Daily Print tabloid, for a private investigation on Mickey Pearson for £150,000. However, after the investigation was done, Fletcher became a bit greedier and in less than 30 seconds of discussing with Raymond, Mickey right-hand man, Fletcher suddenly increases his fees from 150,000 to 20 million pounds. When Raymond heard how Fletcher quickly moved up his price, he interjected, but Fletcher insisted that 20 million pounds is nothing compared to what he can actually make should he decide to sell his investigation, which has been typed out into a screenplay for someone else. Fletcher proceeded to narrate his story and discovery about Mickey in the form of a movie while Ray sits down in order to know how much information was at the disposal of Fletcher. He narrated a brief story about Mickey, an American who had come from a very poor background but won a scholarship to Oxford. While he was in school, he started selling weeds before he dropped out of school to build a cannabis empire for himself. At a gala night where Lord Pressfield was the host, Lord Pressfield appreciated Mickey for his support in the time past. Then he gave a special appreciation and toast to Matthew Brugger, who has generously donated to building cognitive behavioral therapy unit. As soon as Matthew left, Mickey was seen talking to his wife, who plays a major part in building up his business, about the approval, if Matthew can be trusted to do business with. But she said that Matthew is a fox. Foxes are known to have very unpredictable nature and could not be given a validation. Apparently, Mickey was thinking of selling off his business and moving up into something that is more prestigious in nature, like a ministerial position. So he met with Matthew Brugger in an open field and told him that he wanted to sell off his business for £400 million so he can move on with his wife into a less controversial line of work. Ray asked Fletcher how come Big Dave wanted him to investigate Mickey Pearson. So Fletcher told him that there was a party held with almost all the prestigious people in attendance and Big Dave wanted to shake hands with Mickey Pearson. But Mickey ignored his hand, stared at him for a while before walking on. This action from Mickey made Big Dave very angry to have been humiliated in front of people he held in high esteem. Mickey was seen to have driven Matthew to where his plantation is. Matthew was wondering how can it be possible to have a field on plots or acres of land without being arrested by the police. Mickey told Matthew that he had done everything to make his field invisible, and as a matter of fact, he said, if you were standing on my field, you will not know it. So Mickey took Matthew into an empty container and immediately they shut the door. Mickey opened up a passage underneath the ground, revealing his plants of wheat and cannabis. Mickey's field was an underground lab on a plot and possibly acres of land. By the time Matthew saw this, he was surprised and dumbfounded at the organized planting system of Mickey underneath the ground. The location, staff, and technology employed by Mickey was an uncommon strategy. However, Matthew became greedy and involved Dry Eye, an underboss under Lord George, who was an overly ambitious young man. Matthew contracted him to disrupt the business of Mickey so that he can buy it up at a lesser value. Dry Eye, on the other hand, also became greedy and decided to buy up the entire business from Mickey at a price for himself alone. He thought it was an opportunity for him to become the boss eventually. When Dry Eye approached Mickey about buying his business, Mickey told him a story about a young dragon that kept disturbing a wise lion, about buying his territory. But since the young dragon refused to leave the lion alone, the lion took him for a walk and put 5 bullets into his head. Then he told Dry Eye that he thinks there is a message in that story for Dry Eye. Mickey ended up sending Dry Eye away from his office. Dry Eye, who was angry about the cold reception he received from Mickey, sent his man Ferg to go and tell the toddlers about the underground farm of Mickey being used for planting of weeds. The toddlers were a group of young amateur mixed martial art fighters who believed they were fighting for a good cause. The young fighters were surprised at what they saw and did not fail to keep recording with their cameras everything that is being done at Mickey's underground lab for the mass planting of the legal substance that is being sold at the market. The toddlers were brave in their approach and refused to be intimidated by the appearance of some of the men that are working for Dave that seemed to be coming out of the inner lab to see them. Suddenly, one of the men working at the underground lab saw the toddlers and called orders, and it was not long before they started fighting each other. By the time they were done raiding the plants, they took some of the plants to their gym and called Coach, who happens to be their trainer. When Coach heard about it, he immediately told them to walk away from the scene. However, they quickly told him that it was too late. Back home, Ray was seen bringing a laptop to Mickey, who was sitting on the couch with his wife, to view the rap video shot by the toddlers while attacking the men at the farm. The entire fight were being recorded by the toddlers and used by the young martial art fighters as a rap video that was uploaded on the internet. Immediately, Coach came into the gym. He ordered them to bring down the video from the internet before they ended up creating more harmful situations than they have already created for themselves. In the next scene, the daughter of Lord Pressfield, Laura, who was addicted to drugs, had been staying with a rock star called Pa Noel, who was also an addict. So as a form of favor, Mickey requested that Ray should rescue her and bring her home to her parents. In the process of the rescue, there was an unexpected breakout among Mickey's men and the youth, which led to the accidental fall of a Russian kid called Aslan that was with them in Noel's apartment, and the Russian kid fell and died instantly. By the time Ray went back to give the account of what had happened to Mickey, he told him that Laura had been returned to her parents safely. So Mickey pressed on further and asked what else. At this point, Ray told him the fight that broke up and how the Russian kid had fallen from the upper floor of the building to the floor and died instantly. On the other hand, there were some young boys at the scene of the death who started taking instant photographs of what they had seen. When Dry Eye saw that he was not making any headway with Mickey, he resorted into kidnapping his wife. At the time, there was no one else in the office. Dry Eye went into the office with two of his men. Unfortunately for him, Mickey's wife was on a phone call talking to Mickey at the other end. Mickey instantly suspected that there was someone at the office about to attack his wife and started driving to her office in order to rescue her. But because of the speed with which he was driving, the car had an accident and he barely came out of it alive, only for him to start running all over again in order to get to his wife and protect her from whoever was about to attack her. On the other scene, Dry Eye had walked up to Rosalind with two of his men and wanted to get her kidnapped. She instantly brought out a gun, shooting and killing two of the men. By the time she was out of bullets in the gun, immediately Dry Eye started beating her up and eventually overpowered her, with Dry Eye pressing Rosalind's neck on the table. Just when it seemed as if he was in total control of the situation, he checked over his shoulder. As he was about to force himself on her, Mickey was seen at the door, who instantly shot Dry Eye 3 times. After the death of Dry Eye, Mickey eventually decided to confront Matthew of his various atrocities and partnership with Dry Eye before he was killed. Matthew completely denied ever meeting Dry Eye and claimed there was no way he and Dry Eye ever had any partnership or business conversation in his lifetime. Mickey decided to take Matthew away from the freezer and they went out. He later opened up a laptop showing the recording made by Fletcher of the day that Dry Eye and Matthew had met at the stadium to discuss the possibilities of taking over Mickey's plantation of cannabis. Immediately Matthew saw the recording, he said it was just business and should not be taken personal in any way. Mickey then told him that Matthew was going to pay him 400 million minus 130, which equivalent of 270 million pounds, at the cost of the bloodshed, to clear up the mess that Matthew created by his short-sightedness. He stated that not only is Matthew paying the money, but he, Mickey, is going to keep the business despite the payment of the money for Matthew. He also emphasized that he is not emotional about the mess created by Matthew and how the mess can be cleaned up. But Mickey told Matthew that if he fails to transfer the money to him on time, he will send his men to throw Matthew also into the freezer, and it might probably last an hour inside the freezer before he eventually dies. However, he added that he wanted a pound of flesh for Matthew as the price and punishment of the fact that somebody laid hands on his wife, raising his voice to re-emphasize, saying, also stating that there was no amount of money that anyone can pay that can clean up the mess of transgression created by touching his wife. Fletcher was found again discussing with Ray about the fact that the Russians are coming to clean up the house, which include Mickey. Ray, apparently Aslan Sr. is a Russian oligarchy, former KGB agent who had made his money through gas pipe and was unhappy about the fact that his only son was thrown out of the window into his death. While Fletcher was trying to make money through Ray by selling the investigation to him, he was also trying to sell information to the Russian also for a fee. He was trying to make money from both ends. It was Fletcher that gave Russian the information on where to meet and assassinate Mickey at the bar, but the assassination attempt failed because Ray was swift to kill the assassin. Based on the new information given to the Russian by Fletcher, Mickey will be captured as soon as he comes out of the fish market, and at the same time they are sending some Russians to the house of Ray to eliminate him at the same time. Immediately Ray heard this, he sent a text message to Mickey telling him not to enter the car, but it was already late because Mickey was already inside the car and the gun was already pointing in his direction. On the other hand, Coach has already seen the two men walking into Ray's residence with guns in their hand, and the two gun shot was heard. Coach had shot the two Russian assassins that was sent in order to execute Ray. Fletcher was seen running away from Ray's residence. While driving Mickey away in the car, the toddler misconceived the Russian assassin for some group of mafia coming after Coach, and they opened fire on the car, killing the two Russians sitting in front of the car, while Mickey immediately hid himself from the gunshot at the car. Fletcher was seen narrating the entire event that had already been scripted into a screenplay in the office of Miramax in form of a movie script he was trying to sell to them. He eventually walked out of the office into a cab, but unfortunately for him, Ray was the cab driver, who immediately bolted the door, making it impossible for Fletcher to escape again. Mickey's wife came in through the door and informed Mickey that Fletcher has already been captured by Ray. The title of the movie is The Gentleman, directed by Guy Ritchie.